Yo, 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 yo. What it do? What it be, y'all? It's your boy, Agent A&T. Coming to y'all with a little Madden 19 commentary. And, it's pretty much the Super Bowl weekend. And it's going to be the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And personally, as a Broncos fan, I want to see the Niners win because fuck the Chiefs. But this video ain't about that. After the Super Bowl, regardless really of who wins, the XFL is coming back. Now, I'm not really saying the XFL, which is, in my opinion, pretty much the NFL's D-League. It really isn't by any stretch of the imagination or by any means any competition to the giant that is the NFL. And to further drive my point home, the XFL is pretty comparable to AEW right now. Except XFL, we haven't really seen them play a game at all. But, I mean, XFL and AEW both have, you know, decent talent pools for to start. Now, unless they change that, they'll both be under in about 5 to 10 years. But look how long TNA has lasted. You know, I guess we haven't had really like a football competition since the last XFL. Really, now that I think about it, maybe arena football, but come on now, that was nothing. But really, the AEW and the XFL, they both have the potential to survive through, you know, that 5 to 10 years if they can take advantage of the situation in both industries respectively, and that's wrestling and football. Now, granted, yeah, we all know WWE is A1 when it comes to wrestling. No matter, you know, I just talked about how bad it was and, you know, their storylines that they have and all that they have right now. But I will say their Royal Rumble to start off the year was lit. Like, probably, I mean, it's going to be hard to top that for, you know, even WrestleMania and all that. It was a really well-written event. The Royal Rumble match was great. All of the matches were, I don't think there was any really, like, match that made me go, you know, why is this on the card? This doesn't deserve to be on the card. Maybe the Daniel Bryan, I don't think, the strap match, the gimmick matches just don't do it for me. But that's just me. But, but yeah, I mean, overall, WWE is lacking though. Like, how long can they keep up this writing? We've seen in the past that writing coherent storylines is a big challenge for them, to say the least, really. And really the problem with the old XFL was that they were kind of too reliant on the fact that they were backed from another industry pretty much. Like, they kind of tried to merge WWE, which was kind of, it wasn't as hot as the Attitude Era. Granted, it was still hot, but it wasn't as popping, you know. And then they tried to merge it with wrestling, which was kind of like, why is The Rock doing intros on football or whatever? It just doesn't kind of make sense. But if both the XFL and AEW can pull away some of the talent, like, we already know AEW has pulled away Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, and that was a big signing. Especially if they can use him right, it's going to be able to pay off in the long run. Now, if they can get a couple other guys to join or whatever, it's going to be crazy. Now, before I get into why the NFL or why the XFL could potentially give the XFL some competition. I'm going to just throw this out there. And I believe it was my homie Trayvon, right when he retired, that brought up the fact that Andrew Luck's dad is a major backer, financer, whatever. He's like a commissioner in the XFL, which was really interesting to me, honestly. Do I think Andrew Luck is going to play in the XFL for the first year? No, because he would be literally getting paid pennies on the dollar of what he could make in the NFL. But do I think in the long run, if he joins the XFL, could that be some star power for them? That's not even a question. I think that'd be a major storyline. Probably one of the biggest storylines of the year if that happened. But here's really where it comes back to the NFL being in trouble. After Super Bowl Sunday and the 54th NFL champion is crowned on February 2nd, just 6 days later on February 8th, the XFL kicks off. And after their 12-week season in April is up, pro football's future is really going to be up in the air, at least for the NFL. Like, we know the XFL will probably be okay, but I mean, to be honest with you, the NFL might have, well, it definitely has a lot of problems on their hands. And for anyone who doesn't know, the NFL and the NFL's PA collective bargaining agreement expires this year. And judging by how far apart the players and owners are on key issues, in my opinion, it's highly likely we're going to see another lockout. Like, you know, the drug policy, guaranteed contracts, stadium credits, revenue percentages, an 18-game season, the franchise tag, fifth-year options, the fully funded rule, how much power the commissioner has, player health, current and former player health care and benefits are all issues that the players and owners are set to mediate out this spring. And what a way to start the 101st season. Am I right? And it actually might start with a lockout, you know, but ESPN now actually has a great article on how the two sides can find common ground on all those topics I just mentioned and kind of gives a rundown on, kind of tries to explain all of them. Now, I'm going to be real. I ain't tripping about the players getting paid because I don't really pocket watch like that. I mean, I know they make hundreds of thousands of dollars and some even make millions, and that's more than I make right now. But, you know, I also acknowledge the fact that they deserve it because not everyone can do what they do. And the NFL and its owners have a long history of shady business deals and lowballing players and, you know, screwing players out of their money. So if they get more guaranteed or more money in general for the sacrifices to their health they make, for the money, for the fans, for the love of the game, the accolades, and for the rings and all that, then so be it. You know, really, I'm not concerned about their money as much as they are. You know, I could never be concerned more about somebody else's money than I am for mine. That's just me. But the points that I find interesting and the most, contentious besides the money and contracts is the drug policy. You know, how much power the commissioner has is also a huge topic for me because we'll get to Roger Goodell in a minute. But the concept of an 18-game season, those are all hot topics, and those aren't easily solvable. Now we'll just start off with the weed and the drug policy or whatever. I've heard a proposition where the teams that where cannabis is legal, such as Colorado, California, Nevada, Washington, and Illinois, they would be allowed to consume cannabis with no repercussions. However, to me, the best solution is to just stop testing for weed. How hard is that? Just test for performance-enhancing drugs, stimulants, and amphetamines. I mean, we know where they get in the opioid supply from the league, but sorry, I'm getting sick, but yeah, but yeah, we know that they get in opioids from the league, and I don't really see. I've never heard of an NFL player using barbiturates. Matter of fact, I've never heard of anybody using barbiturates, but I mean, it's a thing. So maybe test for those too. I don't know. But weed, just throw it out. That's really, that should be a no-brainer in my opinion. I don't see how that could even be an argument, really. But the 18-game season is really interesting to me. Now, in my opinion, this is how they should do it, and this is just how the NBA should do it too. Now, this is just my opinion, and I'm going to kind of get off topic because obviously the NBA runs series for playoffs. So, in my opinion, the NFL, if they want to make an 18-game season to make more money and to pay more players, here's my proposition. And this will probably never happen. This is just, something like a dream booking of mine on how the NFL's playoff system should go. Now, in my opinion, this is also how the NBA should go, and I'll get to that in a minute, but the NFL should play a 15-game season, right? And then have each team ranked from 1 to 32. You could still have divisions or whatever, I guess. You could have conferences, whatever. But I think what should happen is they play the 15-game regular season, and then after that's up, they all get seeded, and then they have a tournament. A 32-team tournament. What is it? 16 games? Because it's 2 teams a game. So that's... yeah. It would work. 16 teams. Or 32 teams. 16 games over the weekend or whatever. Because they already have playoffs on the weekends. And you could literally just have a tournament for that last, 4 weeks of the season? Right? Because it would go down to 8. It would be 16, and then 8, and then 4, and then 2. That's another 4 weeks. That's 19 games, but I mean, not everybody's gonna play. But in my opinion, that not only would it give more, it would make the league more interesting, but it would also make the league more money, because imagine if, let's say the top seed gets, the high seed gets home field advantage. So now all year you're fighting for home field advantage, and home field advantage is big in the NFL, especially because it's one game. It's not a series like the NBA. The NBA, if they did it like this, had all 30 teams or whatever in a tournament style or whatever, or even had, they probably couldn't do 30. They would have to do 28? Yeah, they could do 28 teams, have the last 2 have like a 3-game series or whatever for the last pick in the draft or something. But anyways, for the NFL, I really think they should have this tournament. They could even do a 13-game series and still keep it 18 games, because hear me out, they could have those 4 playoff games. They could honestly get rid of the Pro Bowl. Just it's over. It's useless. Like, the All-Star game is entertaining because players still have fun, and granted that, it looks like the players are having a lot of fun out there, but it's like two-hand touch. It's not even a game. They're not tackling. They're not really playing hard. Like NBA All-Star games, they're playing hard. They're trying to score. Like, I just feel like, I don't know, watching the Pro Bowl was just whack to me. Just get rid of it. Give them something else to play for, something. Everybody wants an All-Star game, but if they're gonna play like that, like, bruh, what is even the point? So, I mean, really, if they did this, got the playoff games going, high seed gets home field advantage. They run this little tournament. Of course, the top two teams in the Super Bowl, the winner gets the last pick in the draft. And then the loser, of course, gets the 31st pick in the draft or whatever. But then you have one last game, or you could even have games before Super Bowl weekend, like on the Friday or Saturday, right? Or even Thursday and Saturday, right? Have placement games for their pick in the draft. Have the worst team in the draft, or have the worst team in the playoffs and the worst team in the regular season go at it for the first pick, so that way teams can't tank. You know, kind of like the Bengals did and the Dolphins did, and pretty much after the Matthew Stafford got hurt, the Lions started to tank. Like, no one wants to see that. So give them something to play for. Give them a playoff spot and give them a draft pick to play for in the last week, right? Makes sense. And you still have the big Super Bowl game. You could even have those placement games and then have the Super Bowl next week. You could drag it out even. You know? Have everybody come back for that last season game. Or those last season games, I should say. But, yeah. I don't see how hard that could be. It'll never happen. In my opinion, this is all just a pipe dream. But a guy can dream, can he? Just an NFL having an NCAA-like tournament, one and done. You get beat, you're done. You win, you get a chance another week to play in the Super Bowl. The biggest game of them all. I'm not saying a 32 seed team would ever beat a number one. But you never know. People get hurt at weird times or whatever. You know, teams get underestimated. Look at the Titans. The Titans almost pulled some New York Giants type shit. You know, and that was going to be crazy to watch. The NFL could make way more money if they had a couple teams like that every year. And they could even make more in every city if every team had a playoff game to play for. You know, people are going to watch that. People are going to buy it. People are going to buy tickets. Point blank. Same thing with the NBA. I think in the earlier rounds, you could probably do 3-game series. In the semis, you could do maybe a 5-game series. And then in the finals, you could do a 7. You know, make it harder each time or something. You could do so much stuff. I just think, you know, something needs to be shaken up. And maybe that's too big of a shakeup or whatever. And maybe it would be too hard to calculate draft picks or whatever. I don't know. But, I mean, it just sounds like some fun that, you know, that would draw actual money, you know? But that's just my opinion. I don't see the 18-game season happening. I don't see what I just mentioned happening either, so that's kind of why I brought it up. But, yeah, eliminating the 2 preseason games seems like a no-go because the NFL players have done the research, and adding 2 more games of the regular season, taking away 2 preseason games, would take away from their careers. And unless the NFL is trying to offer them health and benefits earlier in their careers or pay them more money for earlier in their careers, then I don't see them coming to, you know, a middle ground on that. And I think it's just going to stay the same and just have the regular old, you know, 6 teams make it from each thing, which is, it's not a terrible system, but, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing two more teams or 1 more team from each conference make it. 2 teams in total. Would definitely make it more interesting. But I mean, the way they have it set up now is even more interesting. You just had, like I said, the Titans be a Cinderella team from the wild card. It's wild card weekend. Any given Sunday type shit, you know? But that's kind of how I see that going. The last one I kind of want to talk about is the commissioner. And if you go on my Twitter, you know I do not have any love for the commissioner at all. I think he's fucking terrible. Like, honestly, compared to somebody like Pete Rozelle and I forget his name, but yeah, the guy who came before him in like the 60s or whatever, it was like something Bell or something like that, but he was cold too. Like, Pete Rozelle is a legend, and Roger Goodell, I mean, I just think he's so inconsistent with his ruling and judgments. It's kind of ridiculous. And even the NFL in general, like them blackballing Colin Kaepernick for literally pretty much no reason. Like, taking him out of Madden. Like, y'all had Greg Hardy in the same game the year he allegedly threw his girlfriend or wife, fiance, whatever, threw her on a pile of guns and beat her or whatever. But he was allowed to be in the game. And what did y'all do? How did y'all respond? Y'all put his personality at 0. Oh no. Guess what? Ray Rice was still in the game after all that happened. Free agent. But you're telling me y'all can't put Colin in? And then you go and bleep out some lyrics that mention him in 2K or in Madden 20? Y'all, like, that's just so petty. It's so petty to me. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. If Colin Kaepernick went to the XFL, which I highly doubt. Vince McMahon has been adamant that he don't fuck with Colin Kaepernick, so I doubt that's ever going to happen. But really, I don't see anywhere else he would go. I think Johnny Manziel would go into the XFL before Colin Kaepernick, though. That's how much he's blackballed, just not even from the NFL, just from football in general. You know? But, I mean, really, back on topic, Roger Goodell, he got to be stopped. There's no way. Even if he gets suspended in the NFL, even if you get, like, if you're a player and you get suspended and you try to appeal it, guess who appeals it? Roger Goodell makes the appeal and oversees the appeal. How is that fair? How is the person who gives you the suspension going to give you a fair and unbiased appeal? Like, come on now. I can't even expect that to work. I think, in my opinion, Roger Goodell needs to have every major decision, like suspensions and fines, come up. He needs to present it to a panel of like a 3-person panel of like a former NBA or a former NFL player, a former NFL manager, and a former NFL referee or something like that. People who know the game, people who are fair and just or whatever like that. And those 4 need to also see a mediator to come up with a fair ruling. Now, that might take time. And, that's kind of why they pay the commissioner so much, and that's kind of his job, is to come up with swift rulings. But he's been terrible at his job. You cannot honestly sit there and tell me Roger Goodell has done a good job. He's done a good job at putting money in the players' pocket. That's why they pay him. Or not the players, but the owners. He keeps the owners nice and paid and happy. That's kind of his job. He's supposed to keep intact with all 32 owners, but when it comes to the players and how they're treated, I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that they're getting a fair shake in disciplines. It'd be stupid to even try to argue. But yeah, even if the suspensions came late, like if you had to, deliberate a suspension or a ruling for a couple months and then suspend him that next year or whatever, and that was why, I don't think anyone would bat an eye because it's fair. Who cares if it happened however long ago? It happened. and you have to be punished for conduct detrimental to the league. That's understandable, but just make sure it's fair. That's all we ask. You had clear video evidence of Ray Rice beating his wife. You suspended him. Then it came out you had the tape. Then you tried to suspend him again, and you couldn't. And don't even get me started on the Tom Brady Deflategate or whatever, you know? Just that whole I might have to do another video on that one day, but yeah. Yeah, I think honestly that's how it needs to go. He needs to have like a 2/3 vote or something against him, or a 2/3 vote for him. No, yeah, because if it's 4, then they obviously agree. But if it's 2/3 against him, then they obviously need to deliberate or something, you know, with the mediator. I'm not saying it needs to be, just needs to be case by case, obviously. I'm not saying, you know, do every case like that, but case by case. If they agree with his decision, ruling, fine, suspension, whatever, cool, we'll let it ride. But if they disagree, talk it out, mediate it, make it fair, make it right. Meet with the player even, you know. Make it look like you're trying, bro. Because it doesn't even look like you are at this point. But those probably aren't even the best solutions. I'm just out here spitballing. Like I said, the tournament thing, that'll never happen. But, you know, an 18-game season and giving the players pennies for it, yeah, fuck that. That'll never happen. But sorry, I kind of went over time. This is going to be a long video. I got some long videos dropping, some sensitive topics, hot content dropping, little things stopping, though, you know it. But hope y'all enjoyed this long video. It's going to be even longer, really. I dropped a 60 burger on these cats. Patrick Mahomes was trying his darndest to catch him up, but I wasn't having it. So I'm going to probably end the video right here, at least the commentary part, but I'm going to let the end of the video right out just because, just so proud of this. I had to upload it. But thank y'all for whoever watched this long and heard me rant, rave, whatever. But yeah, if the NFL can't sort out the myriad of problems that stand between, like, the players and owners, which, you know, it's not, is it really a coincidence that the XFL waited until the next CBA to come out? You think they just put together the XFL in the last couple of years? No, I bet you they had this planned since they came to their last CBA agreement and they saw the lockout. And then they kept seeing how frustrated the players were with the lockout, and we're like, oh, it's time to bring the XFL back, which isn't terrible, because if the NFL has a lockout to start the next season, they could be, like I said, they could be in trouble, you know. If they can't come to an agreement on just those three little look, I didn't even touch on any of the money. That's what the players really care about, the money and bennies. If you can't even sort out the little issues and the little topics in a short or, you know, a good amount of time, there might not be, like, worst case scenario, there's not an NFL season. That is literally the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, they get the deal done before the NFL season, but somehow, if they get the deal done fast, we know it's not going to be a fair deal. For the players, for sure. We know the owners aren't going to take no hits. And that's kind of what happened last time. They kind of tried to stall out, but the players just kind of got restless and was like, okay, yeah, we'll settle. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think the players are ready to dig in. I think they're getting ready for a lockout. And I think the XFL is going to try and capitalize. I think they're going to try and market this right. I think if they want to do this, look, I hope Vince McMahon has learned. You can throw as many marketing dollars at something as you possibly can, but if the product is trash, no one will watch it. For example, Monday Night Raw. But even the XFL, They can promote it to Kingdom Come while the NFL is gone. We're the only NFL, we're the only football in town. I can already see it now. But if their product is trash, like if it looks like, amateur football, I mean, I don't know if they're going to survive. I mean, maybe in this day and age of GIFs and memes and entertainment, I mean, sure, but in terms of it being an actual sport and competing with the NFL in the long run, this first season, they have to knock it out of the park. They can't have an okay season. They can't have an alright season. They can't barely get by. They have to make sure their product is A1. Their production values, the players playing are given 100%. They can't go out there. They had players getting hurt on the coin toss in the XFL because it was trying to be like hardcore football or something. They have to understand this is, people want to see a genuine sporting event and will pay good money to see it. And if they drop the ball in this first season, it don't matter if the NFL even has a lockout. Because people are going to be like, all we got is the XFL. They're going to be roasting the XFL all year. And once the internet gets a hold of something, it's over. Once you have a stigma about you, it's done pretty much. So they need to take this time right now and set up for... I just gave you all the worst and the best case. The mid-case scenario is there is a semi-lockout for the first, few weeks. Maybe the first 8 weeks, 10 weeks, right? Maybe we'll get, 7 weeks of football. 8 games of football or something. Who knows? But I just feel like if the NFL could really be in trouble if the XFL can capitalize on this season and the next season, while everybody's on lockout, they can kind of sign the NFL players to kind of like freelance contracts, kind of, kind of like wrestlers. I don't know how they could do it, but if they can steal just a couple, one or two, like semi-big name talents, like I'm not saying Tyreek Hill or Sammy Watkins or something like that, but if they can draw in someone like a Mecole Hardman, who's like a number 1 on the Chiefs right now, he's in the Super Bowl. If they can draw in somebody like a Devontae Parker from the Dolphins, he's a stud. If they can draw in somebody like that, or someone in their or someone who could still kind of play like this just showed Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon could probably still play, especially against some mid-tier guys. Some of these older guys could. You could get some of these older guys for cheap. Just because they love the game that much. Maybe they don't want to get hurt. Some of them do. I understand the health, but it's out there that if you were to start an NFL, or if you were to start a competition with the NFL or the WWE conglomerates that they are, now would be the time. Because I guarantee you Vince McMahon is putting all his brain power into the XFL, and he's kind of just leaving the WWE up to Shane and Stephanie and Triple H, and that. I'm not complaining. If that's what that produced, this great Royal Rumble we just had, then that's fine. Because I know this. The kickoff is next week, pretty much. I know Vinnie Mac is licking his chops at all the opportunity he has. And this is all I'll say about this. But in my opinion, in the near future after his presidency is over, we could see Donald Trump own an XFL franchise. And that's just a major factor, player, whatever. Maybe not because he's such a controversial figure at this point. But you never know. You really never know nowadays. But, I mean, I was supposed to end the video, but yeah, I I just kind of got sidetracked because it just seems a little too perfect that the XFL just starts right at the season where the NFL is set to have some of the biggest talks, and it's not like it's in direct competition, but they're setting themselves up real nice for next year. So it's almost like they're like, okay, if we could put out a decent product, maybe have talk Andrew Luck, I think Oliver Luck is his dad. If we could talk Oliver into, making his son come back, play a season, just, make sure he's protected or whatever, then they're good. Make sure he's medically cleared. I'm sure he still loves the game. I mean, granted, he could make way more in the NFL, but if the XFL promised him some back end tips or whatever, yo, that would be crazy. They could set a new standard for personal player deals or whatever. I don't know. It could all be different, but that's kind of how my thoughts on it. Is the NFL in trouble right now? No. Could it potentially be? Maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. But hope y'all enjoyed the video. Kind of went hella overtime, but oh well. Had a lot of content. It's a long video. Like I said, dropped a 60 burger. Had to post it. But thank y'all for watching the whole thing. For real. It's been your boy, Agent A&T, the Elevated Gamer, a.k.a. the Above Average Gamer. Be safe out there, y'all. Leave a like. Subscribe. Ring the damn bell so you don't miss none of this hot content I got dropping. And I'm out. Peace. Don't get smoked. Crazy. This is a crazy ass game.
burger. What? I was about to say, yeah, give me that, huh? Jason Peters, Patrick Mahomes, who don't make no mistakes. Ooh, yeah, we cut off that little long route he was finding, no cap. So we had to throw it a little short. Humphrey like, go, bro, go. $60 burger. Oh, he still picked it up.